count time. That's where this starts. That's where everything in a prison starts and ends. The count. I did 28 years at Hawthorne State Correctional Facility. Maximum security. Level 5. The kind of place they send you when every other facility gives up. 2,000 men behind a 30-foot wall with razor wire on top. I ran the overnight count on B block for my last 9 years. 5 tiers of poured concrete and steel grating. 212 single-man cells stacked like a filing cabinet for human beings. You drop a pen on tier 1, a man on tier 5 hears it. Every footstep comes back at you 3 times, and the fluorescents never fully shut off. Even during lights out, they run at maybe 10%. Just enough green-white glow to make everything look like the bottom of a swimming pool. Standing count at 0-200 is sacred. You don't talk, you don't joke. Inmates on their bunks, faces visible. 2 COs start from opposite ends of each tier. Flashlight through the window. 1 body, 1 bed. Click the counter. Next door. 5 tiers, 212 cells. Numbers meet at the control station. They always match. In 9 years, my count never came back wrong, not once. November 2006, Tuesday night. I remember it was Tuesday because commissary runs on Tuesday, and the block was always a little quieter after commissary. Men got their ramen and their honey buns, and they were content, at least for a night. 0-200. I sent Martinez south and Briggs north. Standard formation. I stood at the control station with my clipboard and my own counter and waited. The block was dead quiet. Good quiet. The kind of quiet that means everyone is asleep and nobody is planning anything stupid. Martinez came back first, clicked his counter onto the desk, 107. Briggs came back 30 seconds later, 106. I looked at both numbers, added them in my head, then I added them again. 213, I said it out loud. 213, like saying it would make it change. Martinez looked at me. That ain't right, Sarge. No. It wasn't right. B block holds 212. 212 beds, 212 inmates. Has been 212 since August when Perkins transferred to medium. I told them to run it again, both of them. Same directions, same formation. They came back. 107, 106, 213. I grabbed the clipboard myself. I don't like doing the walk, that's what the COs are for, but I wasn't going to log a miscount without seeing it with my own eyes. I started on tier 1, south end. Cell by cell, flashlight through the window. 1 face on the bunk. Tally mark on the clipboard. Next cell, 1 face. Tally. Next cell. I did all 5 tiers. Every cell had exactly 1 inmate. Every door was locked. I could hear them breathing through the slots. 212 cells. 212 men. I went back to the station and counted my tally marks. I counted them 3 times. 213. I stood there staring at that clipboard for a long time. 212 cells. 212 individual tally marks. Except it wasn't. It was 213. But I had checked every single cell. 1 man each. I couldn't tell you which tally mark was the extra one. They all looked the same. Little pencil scratches on state-issued paper. I called Lieutenant Hadley, woke him up. He didn't complain. Hadley was old school. A bad count means something is wrong, and in maximum security, wrong gets people killed. He was there in 20 minutes. We ran it together, him on one side, me on the other. 213. Checked the showers, locked, empty. Day room, locked, empty. Utility closets, locked, empty. Every space on B block that wasn't a cell, empty and secured. Hadley looked at me. I looked at him. Neither of us said anything for about 30 seconds. Then he said, "Log it as an administrative error. Run the count again at 0400. I logged it. I ran the 4 o'clock count. 212. Clean. I went home that morning and sat in my truck in the driveway for 10 minutes before I went inside. I wasn't scared. That's not the right word. I was unsettled. Like finding out a door you've locked every night for 9 years was open, and you can see from the dust that nobody touched it. I don't miscount. I have never miscounted. The number was 213 in a 212 unit, and every cell had one man in it, and every door was locked. That was Tuesday. I figured it was a fluke, some kind of, I don't know, maybe I was tired, maybe we all were. Wednesday night, I ran the count again. 213, Wednesday night, 213, Thursday, 213. By Friday, Lieutenant Hadley had moved his cot into the B Block control station. He was sleeping there between counts so he could personally supervise every single one. We tried everything. Different COs on the walk, swapped Martinez for Jenkins, Briggs for Donovan, didn't matter. 213. We tried counting by tier instead of the whole block. Tier 1, 42, Tier 2, 43, Tier 3, 43, Tier 4, 42, Tier 5, 42, add them up, 212. But the block count, the official standing count when you count B block as one unit, 213. Same men, same cells, same locked doors. I know how that sounds. I know, numbers don't work that way. You add up the parts, you get the whole. That's math. That's not something that breaks. But it broke. Night 5, I couldn't take it anymore. After the count cleared, or didn't clear I should say, after we logged another 213 and Hadley went to go stare at the wall, I stayed on the tier, alone, 3 in the morning. Every sane person was either asleep or pretending to be. I walked Tier 1 end to end with my flashlight pressed against each food slot. Face, face, face. Every man accounted for. I did all 5 tiers. Took me almost 2 hours because I wasn't just counting, I was looking, checking each face against the roster photo in my head. 28 years. You know the faces. You know who belongs in which cell, the same way you know where the plates go in your own kitchen. 212 faces. I saw every single one. I went back to the station and counted my tally marks. 213. I sat there for a long time with that clipboard on my knees, counted those marks over and over, even numbered them, wrote a tiny number next to each tally, 1 through 213. Then I tried to figure out which tally didn't have a face. I couldn't find it. They were all the same. Every mark had been made at a food slot, flashlight in my left hand, pencil in my right. I couldn't tell you which one was extra, any more than you could pick the wrong grain of sand off a beach. Night 6. The warden got involved. Warden Price, who I'd seen maybe 4 times in 9 years because wardens don't come to B Block at 2 in the morning. He brought electronic counters from supply, digital, brand new, little clicker guns that log every press with a timestamp. 4 COs, 4 digital counters, 1 tier each. Tier 5 was small enough to fold into Tier 4's count. They walked, they clicked, they came back. 213. Warden Price looked at those 4 counter displays for a very long time. Then he looked at me. "Sergeant, is this a game?" A game. Like I'd been sleeping 3 hours a night for a week because I thought it was funny. I told him no, sir. He told me to run the 0400 count and report directly to him. Then he left. I heard his car start up in the parking lot, and I swear it sounded like it couldn't get out of there fast enough. By then, the whole facility knew something was wrong on B Block. COs from other blocks were asking questions. The inmates could feel it too. B Block was quiet in a way it had never been. Not the good quiet, the wrong quiet. Like when the yard goes silent before a fight, except this silence had been going on for days and there was no fight. Just waiting. I stopped eating. Couldn't keep food down. My hands shook during counts so bad I switched from a pencil to a pen because the marks were getting too shaky to read. I started counting everything outside the prison too. Ceiling tiles in my kitchen, steps from my truck to the front door. Everything had to add up. Old CO Wheelock, been retired since '98, I'd run into him at the gas station sometimes. He saw me that week and told me I looked like death. I told him about the count. Not all of it, just the number. He got real quiet. Then he said, "Block's always been one heavy. Ask anyone who ran count before the renovation. Back in the 80s, we used to joke about it." I asked him what that meant. He said, "It means some places hold on to things, Sarge. Walls remember." I didn't ask him anything else. I didn't want to know. Night 6. I logged 213 for the 6th straight time, put the clipboard down, looked at the tier, fluorescence humming, 212 men sleeping behind locked steel. And somewhere in the arithmetic, one more. One that I couldn't see, couldn't locate, couldn't explain. I went home and lay in bed counting my own heartbeats. 63 per minute. 63. 63. I lost count around 4 in the morning. Might have been 64. Night 7. Sunday. I drove to Hawthorne in the dark and sat in the parking lot for 15 minutes before I could make myself walk through the gate. My hands were steady for the first time all week, and that scared me more than the shaking. Like my body already knew something I didn't. B block felt different. The air was heavier. Fluorescence on Tier 3 flickering. Maintenance had been called twice, and they kept coming back wrong. The usual nighttime sounds were gone. No snoring, no mattress springs, no muttering from the guys who talk in their sleep. Just the hum and the building settling like it was exhaling. I ran the count. Martinez South, Briggs North. I stood at the station, watched them go, watched them come back. Martinez put his counter down. 106. Briggs put his counter down. 106. 212. I looked at those numbers. 212. Clean. First clean count in 7 days. I checked the math 3 times. I checked it a 4th time. 212. My whole body went loose, like I'd been clenching every muscle for a week and someone cut the strings. I put the clipboard down and just breathed. The pen wasn't shaking. The numbers were right. Whatever had been wrong with B block was over. Then the radio. Medical to B block. Cell 512, unresponsive inmate. Raymond Purcell, B512, Tier 5. 15 years into a 25 for armed robbery. 54 years old. No cardiac history. No drugs. Tox came back clean. Just lying on his bunk with his eyes open and his heart stopped. Like someone turned him off. Count adjusted to 211. They removed the body. Everything normal. By the book. I told myself it was coincidence. Men die in prison all the time. Has nothing to do with a count that ran hot for 6 days. 3 months passed. Clean counts every night. I almost forgot about it. Almost. You don't forget a number like 213, not really, but you learn to put it in a drawer in your head and leave it there. Then one Tuesday at 0200, 213. Same thing. 6 nights, 6 counts, 213. Night 7, 212. And Marcus Webb in cell B340, Tier 3, dead on his bunk. 41 years old. Heart stopped. Clean tox. No history. It happened again 5 months later, 213 for 6 nights. Night 7, 212. James Okafor, B228, 47. Heart failure, healthy man. And again, 7 months after that. 4 cycles, 4 dead inmates. Each time the count ran one heavy for exactly 6 nights, and on the 7th night it came back clean, and a man was dead. Different cell each time, different tier, different inmate. Nothing connecting them. Different races, different crimes, different sentence lengths. The only thing they had in common was B block and the count. I kept a notebook, not state issued. Bought it from the Dollar General. Dates. Count numbers. Names of the dead. Kept it in my glove box because I didn't want my wife to find it and think I'd lost my mind. 4th cycle. Night 6. I'd counted 213 for 6 straight nights, and I knew tomorrow someone was dying. I couldn't stop it. Couldn't figure out who. The count didn't tell you who, just told you one more. After the count cleared, I walked the Tier 5 catwalk alone. Flashlight in my left hand, keys in my right, The keys were shaking again. I pressed them against my thigh to stop the noise. Every cell I passed, sleeping faces behind steel. 212 men who didn't know that one of them wouldn't make it to Tuesday. I reached the end of the catwalk. Dead end. Concrete wall. I turned around. At the far end of Tier 5, maybe 60 feet away, there was a shape, standing on the catwalk between cell 508 and 509. Not inside a cell, on the tier, in the open. The fluorescent above it was strobing. I couldn't see a face, just a silhouette, average height, DOC-issued jumpsuit, standing perfectly still with its arms at its sides. My flashlight was pointed at the floor. I raised it. The beam hit the catwalk grating, the railing, the cell doors. Nothing. Empty catwalk, just steel and concrete and the buzz of a bad fluorescent tube. Night 7, 212, Walter Doss, B308, Tier 3, dead on his bunk, 51 years old, heart stopped, clean tox. I signed my retirement papers the next morning. They'd been filled out for 2 weeks. I'd been carrying them in my clipboard, just needed a signature and a date. I wrote both and didn't look back. That was 4 years ago. I still count things, can't help it. Cars on the street, bottles in the fridge. 28 years of corrections puts that into your bones and it doesn't come out. I count the houses on my block. Maple Drive, 22 houses. I've counted them 1,000 times from this porch. I know every roof line, every mailbox, every driveway. Last Tuesday I counted 23.